G'day legends, welcome to what I watched in February, and this is one of the biggest months for movie watching that I've had in a long time. To start off the month, I watched A Complete Unknown. I'm 100% on the Timothée Chalamet train. I love him as an actor so much, and I think he's going to become one of the all-time greats. He pulls off a tremendous performance here, and I liked how the movie explored ideas around creative expression, breaking the mold, and refusing to follow other people's expectations of you. Maybe it's a little bit too long, but the music was just so beautiful. Then, over in TV land, I watched Douglas is Cancelled. This is a mini-series written by Stephen Moffat following a news anchor who's accused of making a sexist joke and gets cancelled for it. Doctor Who fans like me will enjoy the show for having both Karen Gillan and Alex Kingston in big roles here. It's witty, it's got some great fast-paced dialogue. It's only 3 episodes long. I'm not sure its message is as impactful or as original as it wants to be, but it certainly could be a very cathartic watch for a lot of people. Also, in TV land, I finished The Office UK Season 2. Having watched the American and Australian Office shows before this, the UK version has now become my favourite. The humour is so dark and wrong, the mood is bleak and depressing, and it captures perfectly the existential dread of the 9-to-5 rat race. And that's a reality a lot of us have all had to face at some point in our lives. After that, I watched Companion. The movie follows a couple as they stay at a billionaire's mansion, only for him to end up dead, sparking a chain of dramatic events. This was a big disappointment for me. It's a cross between Barbie and Ex Machina, but not in a good way. The science fiction of it all just has plot holes and doesn't make sense. The movie felt unoriginal, largely unfunny, and again, plot holes galore. It tries to hit you on the head with a message that most sophisticated audience members will already agree with. I wish it delivered this in a more nuanced way and let me come to my own conclusions about what it was trying to say. Also, the second trailer spoiled way too much of this film. Then I watched Captain America: Brave New World. I won't speak too much about this one because you can check out my full video review in the card above, but Marvel, what are you doing, man? Harrison Ford and Andrew Mackie, they try their best here, but it's not enough to save them from the movie's very average script. Then I watched Castello Cavalcanti. This is a short film directed by Wes Anderson in 2013, a film which my friend Fletcher insists that we watched in high school, even when our media teachers deny it years later. It's simple Wes Anderson. It makes you feel like you spent 5 minutes in a quiet Italian town in the 1950s, and that's exactly what I want from a short like this. And better yet, you can actually watch the full thing here on YouTube. On the same day, I also watched American Psycho, and this is one of those movies that people curse me for not having watched yet. It's a big pop culture icon, and all in all, it lived up to the hype. The movie follows a wealthy New York banking executive as he escalates deeper into insanity. I didn't know much about yuppie culture before this, and before you watch this movie, I highly recommend that you do some research on it. It works really well on the surface level as a horror/slasher film, pardon the pun, but it makes some great commentary on the world of American businessmen and how money and wealth come before everything, even morals or doing what's best. And also on that day, and continuing with that theme, I rewatched The Apprentice, the biopic about Donald Trump's life. This is even more of a scary film now after Trump's re-election. The performances here from Sebastian Stan and Jeremy Strong are simply unbelievable. It's some of the best acting that I have ever seen, and I don't say that lightly. This is a brilliant look at Trump's rise to power, an examination of a man who slowly loses all of his morals in the pursuit of power. Brilliant cinema. Then I watched Anora, which, if you don't know already, follows a young sex worker as she marries a rich Russian oligarch who claims to fall in love with her. Now look, I've got to say guys, this movie, it is overrated, especially now after all its Oscars wins, but I wouldn't say it's a bad film either, and in fact, I'd say it's decent. The start is fantastic and the ending was pretty powerful, but the middle section just drags on for far too long and becomes extremely repetitive. The pacing there just felt so rough. It's got beautiful cinematography though. This thing looks amazing. After that, I watched The Monkey. This was another huge 2025 disappointment for me. The movie is about an evil monkey that has the power to make people die when you wind it up. And this was definitely much more of a comedy than a horror. And then the horror elements, they aren't even that good. It's blood and gore, but it's so shallow. There's no emotion behind it, and it just felt like shock value for the sake of it. It really felt like this movie was also trying to make a profound statement about life and death, but instead, it just came off really goofy. Then I watched Sing Sing. This movie follows a group of prison inmates as they put on a theatre production and take part in a drama group within the prison. This had some really touching moments, especially given that it was actually filmed with real prisoners acting in the film. This was a beautiful metaphor for prisoner rehabilitation, and I definitely recommend you check it out. And then I watched Emilia Perez. Yes, this movie is just as bad as everyone says it is. I hate to say it, but it's true. It follows a Mexican cartel leader who wants to transition from male to a female and escape the cartel life. And on a basic level, this film tries to be a musical, but it fails horribly when doing so. The songs here are just so bad. I don't actually mind the idea for the story, but the execution is terrible. And I do think it's a problem that this movie was filmed on a soundstage in Paris, ChatGPT translated from French to Spanish, and not filmed in Mexico when it's trying to claim itself as an important film for Mexico. It just doesn't seem right. After that, I watched The Matrix in IMAX. And let's be real, you guys all know what this movie's about. I'd watched it about 100 times after studying it in high school, and it was really nice to finally just revisit this movie and just enjoy it for what it is, a great film. That climactic scene when the music swells and Neo becomes the one, that has to be one of the best cinema moments ever. It looked and sounded amazing in IMAX as you'd expect, and it was also fun to try and spot all of the Sydney landmarks in the film. Then I watched Spectre. This is the most underrated James Bond film of the franchise for me so far. It has the perfect level of humor and seriousness that I want in a James Bond movie. The action sequences are even more creative than previous films, especially with the sound design and the comedy. And man, the soundtrack, it just slaps so hard here. Christoph Waltz and Dave Bautista as the villains and Lee Sedol as the Bond love interest. What more could you want, guys? This was really good. But after that, I watched Heart Eyes, and I should have listened to my subscriber, Mr. Sunny. Shout out to you, mate. This was really, really bad. So a murderer gets on the loose on Valentine's Day, and he's only targeting couples. And this has to be the most genre-confused movie that I've ever seen. Is it a comedy? Is it a romance? Is it a thriller? Is it a horror? I really couldn't tell you by the time this movie was done. Probably at most it's a romance. For me, it just had too many cringeworthy moments, and the movie just wouldn't stick to whether it was trying to take the mickey out of romance films or if it was trying to be one. There's also a bunch of plot holes as well, and again, I'm just tired of watching gore and violence for the sake of it, man. It just didn't work. The stakes, they weren't there. Not a fan. Then I watched Musician Monkey, and if you just watch the screen right now, you're watching it too. And hey, you have to log it on Letterboxd. This thing is like a Letterboxd virus if you're strict with what you log. It's an 1878 animation, and it's one of the very first. What a movie, guys. And to finish off the month, I watched Wicked at a Sunset Cinema. I always thought this movie wasn't for me, but I actually enjoyed it. And if you don't know, it's basically a prequel to The Wizard of Oz, and the world building and sound design here is just brilliant. I was really enjoying this until it went and completely undercut the lore of the original Wizard of Oz film. It changes things about the original movie, which I really don't like, and the pacing, oh man, it just got rough towards the end. But I would still recommend you give it a watch and check it out. And that's what I watched this February. It was a huge month for me. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, please consider dropping a like, because the algorithm, it just never seems to want to promote these kind of monthly recap videos. But yeah, also make sure you let me know in the comments what you watched this month. I can't wait to hear and chat with you in the comments down below. I'll see you there.